It's 1300 BC, and the eternal empire is starving. The Nile, the river the world treated like a living god, just died. There is no flood. There are no crops. There is only the sight of cracked, white mud stretching toward the horizon and the suffocating smell of 10,000 rotting fish baking under a merciless sun. You're standing inside your mud brick hut, looking at your 3 children huddled in the shadows of the back room. They haven't asked for food in hours, and that's the scariest part. The crying has stopped, replaced by a hollow, heavy silence. And then a shadow falls across your doorway. It's the tax collector. He isn't here to check on your well-being. He isn't here to offer aid. He is here to take what you do not have. Here is what most people don't really grasp about ancient Egypt. The Nile wasn't just important. It was the beating heart of the world. Every single year for millennia, it flooded with the precision of a heartbeat. When the water pulled back, it left behind Kemet, the Black Land. This thick, nutrient-rich silt turned the harsh desert into the most fertile farmland on Earth overnight. That silt is your bread. It's your children's life. It's the only reason an empire of stone and gold was even possible in the middle of a wasteland. But this year, the miracle failed. The river stayed low, stagnant, wrong. At first, the village elders said it was just late. They offered extra prayers to Hapi, the god of the flood. But as the weeks bled into months, the prayers turned into a terrifying realization. Everyone was doing the same math in their head, and nobody liked the answer. If the river doesn't rise, the empire doesn't eat. Then you hear it, a rhythmic, heavy thud, a cedar staff hitting the dry dirt outside your door. This isn't a modern tax audit. This isn't a letter you can ignore or a court date you can reschedule. This man is the scribe of the fields, backed by the divine authority of a pharaoh who is considered a god on earth. He has a quota, a set of numbers passed down from the vizier, who received them from the palace. The great pyramids don't pay for themselves. The 1,000-ton statues and the sprawling temples don't run on goodwill. They run on grain. The scribe looks at you, and he doesn't see a father struggling to keep his family alive. He doesn't see a neighbor who has spent every morning staring at the riverbank, begging for a miracle. He sees a ledger. He sees a deficit that hasn't been settled. You try to explain. You gesture toward the cracked, empty jars and the dust where the harvest should be. His expression doesn't move. He's had this exact conversation 40 times today in 40 different huts. He knows you're hungry. He just doesn't care. So now you face a decision that the history books tend to skip over. You can hand over the last of your seed grain, the grain you were supposed to plant next season, and effectively sign your family's death warrant for the coming year. Or you do what thousands of Egyptians actually did. You lie. You bury a small clay jar under the dirt of your floorboards, and you pray the guards aren't feeling thorough today, because if they find it, there is no appeal. The penalty for hiding grain from the state was The 100 blows. It is exactly what it sounds like, a brutal public beating with a heavy stick, performed in front of your neighbors, your friends, and your children, to survive a famine, only to be broken and made an example of by the state. That was the reality of the Golden Age. Most people didn't fight back. They couldn't. They handed over the grain, watched the scribe walk away, and told themselves that next year would be different. They lay awake at night, listening to the silence of the river, waiting for the one thing that had always saved them. When we look at Egypt today, we see the gold masks of Tutankhamun and the permanence of the Sphinx. But from the inside of that hut, Egypt wasn't a civilization. It was the sound of your children going quiet because they'd lost the energy to cry. It was the realization that the Pharaoh might be a god and the temples might be eternal, but you were just a man waiting for water that wasn't coming. When the water stops, the empire doesn't just decline, it breaks. And that story is a lot darker and a lot more human than the museums will ever tell you.